About how many in general do you think that you have altogether?
At least 700 heads and about 30 full-size figures.
First, we're gonna get your name.
Scott Solomon.
All right. And how did you first get into collecting film props?
Well, it all started when I grew up in Coney Island. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's in a big amusement park, and they had like a woman that would come out and turn into a gorilla, and they had all these things that just blew my mind. And then when I was still young, about 14, my mother's friend brought over two monster masks as a gift for me, a sea dragon and a wolf man. And that was back in the 60s, and those masks are actually worth a fortune now.
Wow.
But when she gave me those masks, it kind of made me love monsters more, and that's when I started having an interest in monsters in the beginning.
So, what was the very first prop that you bought for your collection?
Well, when I was living in Austin, there was like a head shop called Atomic City, and I went in there, and they had these 3 or 4 masks for sale. But at that time, they were like beautiful, realistic latex masks. And I go, "Where'd you get these?" I actually bought like 2 just from walking in there, and it turns out it's from a company that's been around now for like 40 years called Death Studios. And back then, they would sell to retail shops, and you no longer do that. They only sell to individuals. And when I went in there and bought those 2, I called them up and asked them if they had a catalog. So back then I ended up buying like 8 to 12, 14 of them from the catalog that they sent me, because I didn't have a computer back then. And that's the first, to answer your question, that was the first monster mask that I bought, was from Death Studios, those 2. One was called Infected, and I don't remember the other ones. But for that time in the era, for that year, 30-something years ago, they were considered to be wonderful masks, not the cheap little ones that China Masks produces and sells for Halloween, or Mexico produces. These are done, all sculpted by one guy, sculpts them, paints them, hairs them, and he offered them for sale.
Do you focus on certain films or franchises?
No, actually, my collection is a little bit of everything. A lot of people do focus on one particular thing, like Freddy Krueger, Jason, Death Studio masks. There's actually sites on Facebook just for Death Studio collectors. Once you view my collection, you'll see that I buy a little bit of everything if I like what I see.
Is there a particular item in your collection that holds the most sentimental value for you?
Probably, I would tell you, in 1960s, there was a big mask company, one of the few, called Don Post Studios. And back then, when they made their Wolfman, their mold broke pretty prematurely, and they only had a certain amount of copies. And I actually found one of those copies from that 60s, and I still have it in my collection. So I don't know if you can call that sentimental, but that is probably one of the rarest Don Post masks that were ever made.
Can you share any other stories about obtaining props from iconic films or working with people involved in their production?
I've never worked with anybody in their production, but basically, I have a lot of screen use props that um, I find from other collectors that are reputable. And if you find something, I found a lot actually on eBay, and there are actually groups on Facebook specifically for screen use props. So I buy from people there, but I make sure that it's a valid piece. There are so many forgeries and replicas out there, and people think if you have a certificate of authenticity, it's great, but it's not. I can print out a certificate of authenticity myself, so that doesn't really mean much. It's the people you buy from, their reputation, their feedback, and make sure it's all positive. I have been ripped off before. I mean, it was just some ingenious scams that people do out there that can cost you a lot of money. So I basically try to buy from people that I know or I bought through before. And if I don't know them, then I'm going to use PayPal, and I'm never going to use friends and family because then you can't file a claim. When you got somebody says, "Oh, can you send me the money, friends and family?" That's a big red flag. I said, "No, I'll give you the extra money for the fee they charge you, but at least I'm protected that way."
Right. What is the most challenging part of being a collector?
Competing with other collectors when a very rare, beautiful piece comes out. It's like there's a friend of mine, his name is Harry Inman, incredible sculptor, and he passed away of a heart attack. So anytime any of his stuff comes up, it's like the people that really love Harry Inman, they try to grab it as you can be and immediately try to get it. So that's one of the things, or like Jason Hammond's pieces that you can't call him up and say, "I want to buy this piece." What he does on Thursday, he lists two pieces usually that he's going to sell on Friday at a certain time. He wouldn't put them up there for sale until 9 o'clock p.m. exactly, which would be 8 o'clock my time. So if you want to, he shows you what pieces are going up, but he is so popular. He is such a good artist. You saw the carry that within 2 minutes that he sold out, and his pieces list for at least anywhere from 600 to 1500. So for me to get one of his pieces, I've got to get on his site immediately at 8 o'clock my time, and when the pieces show up, I've got, if I want one, I've got to click on that one that I want and pay him before somebody else does. So, and I'm telling you, it's tough. Some of the pieces are so sought after, you have got to be really quick to get it. So
Excellent day for an exorcism. You'd like that? Intensely.
Is there any pieces that you're on the lookout for currently?
yes, I mentioned that man Harry Inman. He did a piece called Pumpkinstein. It was like a mixture of Frankenstein and Pumpkinhead, and I actually used to own it, and but like some stupid reason I sold it, and I just can't find it. So I'm on the lookout for that. And there's another company called the Halloween Society that came up in the 80s. They only made like 14 or 15 pieces, but that's one of the rarest sought after. I have maybe three of them here, but I used to have like 12 of them, but I knew I would never find the 13th and 14th piece, so I ended up selling like 10 and got $18,000 for 10 of them. So I sold them like a fool. I shouldn't have, but at that time I needed money, but those are ones I keep an eye out for: the Halloween Society pieces and the Pumpkinstein, or anything by Harry Inman that pops up for sale that I like.
Have you ever worked with a museum or someone to collaborate your collection?
Actually, I have two very good friends of mine that own monster museums. One guy's name is John Denley. And he keeps them open year round. And James Lurgio's got a very beautiful, well done museum as well. And but I've never been to them. My plan is I'd like to go out there. I thought about opening up one, and I had both of them offer to assist me. But when you open up a monster museum, there's so many. I mean, I would have to empty my collection at my house, put it in there, hope nobody breaks in and steals them. Insurance, it's very expensive. I mean, it would have cost $60,000 at least to open one up. Alarm systems, so I I rather enjoy them here at my house. Eventually, what I do also occasionally on the neighborhood app, I'll give tours for free. Can't charge, it's illegal to charge people. So I give free tours now and then, but I don't do it that often. But basically, because even Halloween, I'm not even here for Halloween. I go down to the Kima Boardwalk with a hideous silicone zombie mask, put them on and scare these kids. I bring candy, and they don't even take the candy. They come to get it, they see my face, and they run away. I have to bring all the candy home. So I enjoy doing that, going to the Kima Boardwalk on Halloween and walk around, because the mask that I use is so realistic that even the adults get scared when they see it and they walk away from me. So
Do you have plans to expand beyond what you have now?
It's actually it's not really a plan to expand. Nowadays, with the lack of room that I have slowed down my buying. I used to get like 6, 8 boxes a week with masks. Now I've got to the point where I have just about everything. So for me to buy something, then like, we'll probably show you when we do the tour. It has to be something that's rare, or it has to be something that I just love how the sculptor did it. So it's not a plan to expand, but I won't deny myself to buy something that I think is, oh my God, it has to touch me to buy it. I get offers to buy other people's masks all the time. I get messages on Facebook from sculptors, from collectors. Hey, you want to buy this? You want to buy that? So that's my plan, not to really expand, but to just buy it for something that if I really want it, I'll buy it, unless it's $100,000. Like a friend of mine bought one, a T-Rex head, a full size that they used in Jurassic Park, but he's a TV producer and he could spend $100,000 for it.
How do you preserve and maintain the condition of some of the older and more delicate items?
Well, I maintain them. All the items I maintain is I went out and I bought a hand blower. It's only about this big, but it charges up and blows air very strongly. And I'll walk around and I'll blow all the masks, get all the dust off it like that. And it's also all my masks, we have lights on now, but all my masks are in very low lighting. So like upstairs, the light's not on, so it's like sunlight is not good for masks. So, but if you spray it with this handheld blower that I have, it takes a while because there's so many masks I have to spray. But that's basically it, and make sure that they're displayed with something underneath it, like a stand or a 2-liter bottle of soda. Excuse me. You don't just want to stick a mask down on this latex, so it's going to damage the latex. The paint's going to crack. So you have to put something on every one of these. You'll see has to be supported, low light, and occasionally sprayed to get all the air, sprayed with air to get all the dust off of it.
About how many in general do you think that you have altogether?
At least 700 heads and about 30 full-size figures. I didn't count them, but the last time I counted them was like 500 and something, and I bought a lot since then. So
thank you for letting us come in here and interview you and letting us walk around and see all your cool items. And if there's anything you'd like to share with everybody.
But I went to a lake with, see that green sea dragon? I took that into a lake with my scuba gear, and I went under the water, and I swam where all the people were, and I slowly raised the mask out of the water, just turned it left and right, and brought it back down. And when I swam away and came back up, nobody was in the water. I saw these feet kicking when I did it. I heard these screams, and when I came up I swam about 30 feet away and came up, everybody was out of the water going like this, looking. And then I'm a retired police officer. So one night I got together with 2 or 3 buddies, and I have this rotting corpse from the head down to here. So I buried it, but I just left like the teeth showing. So then I had my dispatcher, who was in on the joke, I had her send this rookie female officer out to my location on a suspicious odor call. So we already knew it. So she came out there, but what she didn't know, she spotted this half the skull, but what she didn't know is I tied a fishing line around its neck, ran it about 10 feet away. When she was looking, I pulled the line and it came up out of the dirt like this, and she had to go home and change. She screamed so loud. I mean, she couldn't even get her gun out. So I've done a few pranks like that, and I love to scare people. That's why I go down to Kemah Boardwalk on Halloween. But that was a good prank when that thing came out of the dirt, and she almost had a heart attack.